You were just sitting there. The day had been long. Your head was full. That specific kind of tired that isn't just physical, it's everything. The kind that settles into your chest and doesn't really have a name. And at some point, without you calling him, without you even noticing exactly when it happened, he was there, right beside you, and then he sighed. Deep. Slow. The kind of sigh that seems to come from somewhere in the center of his chest, like he was releasing the weight of the entire world all at once. He closed his eyes, let his body go completely soft, and just stayed there, breathing in that calm, unhurried way that only he knows how to do. You probably smiled, maybe ran your hand along his side, and then went back to whatever you were doing without thinking much of it. But something shifted in that moment. Subtle, almost impossible to catch. Your breathing slowed just slightly. Your shoulders dropped a fraction. That tightness that had been sitting in your chest since morning, it loosened. Just a little. For no obvious reason. You didn't notice. But your body did. And what if that sigh wasn't random? What if your dog, in that exact moment, wasn't simply resting, but sending a signal your nervous system had been waiting for without knowing it was waiting at all? The simple explanation is that he was tired. Long day, used up his energy, found a comfortable spot next to you and let it all go. That's what most people think when they see it. He's just relaxing. That's just what dogs do. And that's not wrong. But it's incomplete in a way that changes everything. Because here's what that explanation skips entirely. Why next to you? Why at that specific moment? Why does it happen most often when the room is heavy? When you've gone quiet, when something in the air around you has shifted in a way you haven't said out loud to anyone? Dogs don't pick their spots randomly. They don't choose their moments by accident. They are, at their core, deeply attuned social animals who have spent thousands of years learning to read the internal states of the humans they live with. And when your dog settles in beside you and exhales that long, slow sigh, he isn't just releasing his own tension. He's responding to yours. That sigh isn't the end of something for him. It's the beginning of something for you, and the reason most people never see it that way is because it arrives so quietly, so naturally, so woven into the ordinary fabric of the evening, that it never gets treated as what it actually is. Something your nervous system needed, delivered exactly when it needed it most. Here's something that sounds like a metaphor, but is actually just science. Humans are mirrors. Our nervous systems were built to detect and reflect the physiological state of the beings around us. Researchers call it co-regulation, the capacity we have to synchronize our internal state with the internal state of whoever is nearby. It's automatic. It runs beneath conscious thought. It happens whether you're aware of it or not. It's why sitting next to someone who is anxious makes you feel anxious. It's why the presence of a calm person can soften your own state without a single word being exchanged. It's why certain rooms feel heavy and others feel light, even when nothing visible explains the difference. Your nervous system is constantly reading the room, reading the people in it, reading the bodies near yours and adjusting accordingly. And your dog's body is one of the most powerful inputs it receives. When he settles beside you and releases that long, slow sigh, your brain picks up the signal before your conscious mind processes anything at all. It registers the sound, the rhythm, the subtle vibration of that exhale moving through the air, and then it does what it was built to do. It calculates. It assesses. It concludes. There is a living being right here, in complete safety, in total relaxation, which means the environment is safe, which means I can relax too. That calculation happens in milliseconds. And here's where it gets interesting. That sigh activates something very specific inside you, your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system responsible for switching off the threat response, for telling your body that the danger has passed, that it's safe to lower your guard, that you are allowed to exist right now without being in a constant state of tension and anticipation. Most people spend the majority of their day in the opposite state. Sympathetic dominance, the threat response running quietly in the background, the body burning energy it doesn't have preparing for emergencies that never arrive. It's exhausting in a way that's almost impossible to explain because it doesn't feel like anything dramatic. It just feels like the baseline, like this is simply how existing feels. Your dog's sigh interrupts that baseline, not with force, not with drama, but with something the nervous system finds almost impossible to argue with: the living, breathing evidence that the being right next to you is safe, relaxed, and completely unafraid. And if he's unafraid, maybe you don't have to be either. But there's another layer to this, one that goes even deeper. It's about breath itself. Breathing is one of the only functions in the human body that exists on the border between automatic and conscious. You don't have to think about it to keep doing it, but you can choose to change it the moment you become aware of it. And that border, that thin line between involuntary and intentional, is exactly where your dog's sigh does its most precise work. Because when he breathes slowly beside you, your body begins to mirror that rhythm without you deciding to. No conscious choice required. No effort. No technique. Your inhale lengthens slightly. Your exhale becomes more complete, and each cycle like that sends a direct signal through your vagus nerve, the long, wandering nerve that connects your brain to your heart, your lungs, your gut, telling every system it touches, slow down, stand down, you're okay. Your heart rate drops slightly. Cortisol begins to fall. The muscles you didn't even realize were braced start to release their grip. All of it triggered by a sound, a rhythm, a sigh. And here's what gets even more interesting. The sound itself matters in ways most people never consider. Your dog's sigh has a specific quality: low, soft, resonant. It isn't noise. It's what you might call auditory presence. An auditory presence from a being you love, in a quiet room, does something very particular to an anxious brain. It gives it somewhere to land. Anxiety is, at its core, a attention problem. Not in the way people mean when they say that dismissively, but in a neurological sense. An anxious brain cannot stay present. It is constantly being pulled forward into what hasn't happened yet, backward into what already went wrong, sideways into every possible version of a future it can't control. It scans. It anticipates. It refuses to settle. Your dog's sigh pulls it back. Not with force, with sound, with rhythm. With the simple, grounding reality of a living breath happening right beside yours, something concrete and present and impossible to locate anywhere except right here, right now, in this specific moment. That's the opposite of what anxiety does to you. Anxiety pulls you out of the present. His sigh returns you to it. And in that return, even if it lasts only 30 seconds before your mind starts drifting again, your nervous system gets something it rarely gets during a long, heavy day: a genuine rest, a real pause, a moment where the threat scan goes quiet and the body remembers, briefly but completely, what it feels like to simply exist without bracing for what comes next. 30 seconds of that, repeated across an evening, adds up to something real, something your body has been quietly depending on. So let's stay with that for a second, because this isn't just about your dog. This is also about you, about the version of you that carries tension like it's part of the body now, that moves through the day braced, not dramatically, not visibly, but quietly, constantly, in that low-level way that you stop noticing because it became the background noise of simply being alive. About the you that sits down at the end of a long day and doesn't actually decompress, just shifts from one form of pressure to another, The to-do list, the phone, the thoughts that don't stop moving even when your body finally does. Most people don't have a real way out of that state. Not a reliable one. Not one that works every time without requiring effort or willpower or the right conditions. But your dog has been offering you one. Every evening. Without being asked. Here's what I mean by that. The hardest thing about anxiety, about that chronic, low-grade kind that doesn't announce itself as anxiety, just lives in the background as tightness and restlessness and an inability to fully land anywhere, is that you can't think your way out of it. You can't reason with a nervous system that's stuck in threat mode. You can't convince your body to relax through logic or willpower or telling yourself that everything is fine. Your body doesn't respond to what you tell it. It responds to what it feels around it. And this is exactly where your dog becomes something that no app, no technique, no breathing exercise downloaded at midnight can fully replicate. Because those things require you to choose them, to remember them, to have enough left in you at the end of a hard day to initiate something intentional. Your dog requires nothing from you. He just arrives, settles, sighs, and your nervous system, the part of you that has been waiting all day for permission to stand down, finally gets the signal it was looking for, not because you did something right, not because you remembered a technique, but because a living being who loves you sat down beside you and breathed like the world was completely safe. And for a moment, your body believed him. Think about how many evenings that has happened without you ever recognizing it for what it was. Think about how many times you ended a hard day feeling slightly less destroyed than you expected, and never once connected that to the warm, breathing presence that had been beside you the entire time. He was the reason. He has been the reason for longer than you realize. Here's the thing that's been true this whole time. You thought he was just resting, just finding a warm spot, just being a dog doing what dogs do at the end of a long day. And you were the one taking care of him. The food, the walks, the vet visits, all of it. You were the caregiver. He was the one being cared for. But that was never the complete picture. Because while you were busy carrying everything, the stress, the weight, the 1,000 invisible things that don't fit into any conversation, he was doing something you never assigned him and never even knew you needed. He was sitting close enough for his breathing to reach yours, staying still long enough for your nervous system to sync with his, exhaling slowly and completely in a room where you had forgotten how to do either of those things. He was regulating you, quietly, consistently, without a single word or gesture that could be pointed to and called intentional. Think about the evenings that would have been so much heavier without him there. Think about the tension that dissolved in rooms where nothing happened except his presence and his breath. Think about how many times your body came down from a hard day not because you did something right, but because he was simply there, breathing slowly beside you, unbothered and unhurried and completely at peace. He wasn't just your dog resting at the end of the day. He was your nervous system's most reliable anchor. And he did it the only way he knew how. By breathing. Tonight, when the day finally slows down and he comes to settle beside you, let him. Don't shift away. Don't get up. Don't reach for your phone in that automatic way that fills every quiet moment before it has the chance to actually be quiet. Just stay there. Feel the warmth of him against you. And when he exhales, that long, slow, completely unhurried breath, let your body follow. You don't have to do anything. That's the point. Just breathe with him. Because somewhere in the middle of all the noise and the pressure and the weight of everything you carry through the day, he figured out something that takes most humans a lifetime to learn. That the most powerful thing you can offer another living being isn't advice or solutions or the right words. It's presence. Steady, warm, unhurried presence. He's been offering you that every single evening, in the quietest possible way, through nothing more than the simple act of being beside you and breathing like everything is okay. And maybe, on the evenings when you needed it most, it was, if this made you stop and think about your dog differently, share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And if you want more about the hidden ways dogs heal the humans who love them, we have so much more to show you. Take a breath. We'll see you in the next one.